Good morning. Thanks for joining me on my walk in the woods this morning. It's a bright day in the kingdom. Always nice to just stand up here and look around and hear the birds. Yeah, it's good. So this morning I'd like to talk about call. I know it might be a strange term for many people, but what is it to be called to something? I know that when I joined the police, I really felt called to be there, and sort of had the position that I'm kind of just here until I get my degree, and then I'm going to go off and work for the federal government or something like that. Of course, when I got my degree and I thought about leaving the police, I thought I couldn't do this. I really need to be here. And then not only needing to be here, but needed to do something while I was here. And that held me pretty focused for over 30 years of my life. But then the call kind of changed. In my mid-50s, all of a sudden I got up one morning with Sabina, we went out for a run, being the sort of general Christmas and Easter Christian, or kind of a Gnostic I was before the run. I came back and everything had changed. I found that things kind of came into order, and I believed again. I really wanted to become a more active Christian. Now, it doesn't matter to me, whether or not you decide to be a Christian or a Buddhist or a Jew or a Muslim or a Hindu. What matters to me is your community and your values. And I found out when I was struggling with this call to be a Christian leader was, where did my values come from? Why were these values important to me? What were the sort of driving values of my life, and where did they come from? And I found out they really came from my boyhood, of going to church, of being an acolyte, of knowing a few priests along the way, and yeah, I wanted to do that. But in order to do that, in order to get rid of my own selfishness and my own centering myself as the center of all things, is that I needed a community. I needed a community of accountability. So when I said, no, that's what I believe, I want to follow that Jesus way, there are people saying, well, okay, it looks like this. And when I'm not following that Jesus way, there are people around to say, hey, you know what? You're not following that Jesus way. And that's hard. So having a community of values. So it found out that the values that I really believed in, that held me through my 30 years in policing, were the values that were embedded in me on sort of the knee of my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, and carried through the times that, and we were in a very super active Christian family that I grew up in. And I unfortunately didn't raise most of my kids with that strong value. And the younger kids did, but not the older kids. So what is it that you believe in? What's important to you? What are your primary values? What are those things that you'd plant your standard for and say, on this I stand. I don't back up. What are those values? And once you identify those values, I think it's really, really important to have a community that supports them in a way in which you can find yourself, accountable to those values and to the people that are around you. So faith cannot exist without community. Community is essential. For there is the give and take, and the rumble and the tumble and the wrestling with how you follow that which you believe. So good luck out there. I invite you to think about what your call is and how are you acting on it. Have a great day. We will get through this pandemic. God is always with us.